Welcome to our International Student Brief program. Today, we're diving into a mix of intriguing news from around the globe. Kicking things off, Australian universities are tightening their belts, refusing applications from those on tourist, temporary work, or bridging visas amidst a government crackdown on migration. It seems they're eager to preserve their risk ratings by ensuring students are in the country for the right reasons. Meanwhile, over in Montreal, a measles outbreak has sparked a vaccination campaign, with 14 cases reported since February. Public Health is urging locals and healthcare professionals to check their vaccination status, highlighting the importance of staying protected against such diseases. Switching gears to the financial side of student life, we're looking at how the student loan interest deduction can help eligible borrowers reduce their taxable income by up to $2,500. This deduction is a boon for those paying interest on qualified student loans, offering a bit of relief in the complex world of taxes. On a different note, British universities are under scrutiny for favoring foreign students over domestic ones, raising questions about the sector's focus and fairness. And speaking of student life, some are taking laundry matters into their own hands, literally, as laundrette costs push them to handwash clothes to save money. Lastly, we're touching on the German industry's cautious stance on investing abroad, driven by economic and geopolitical concerns. And in a more unusual story, aristocrat Constance Martin is in the spotlight for allegedly considering using Gumtree to smuggle her baby out of the country, a plan that adds a dramatic twist to her ongoing trial. Please stay tuned for more detailed content on these stories. Unis rejecting tourist, bridging visa holders as foreign crackdown intensifies. The Sydney Morning Herald. Australian universities are refusing to accept international student applications from individuals already in the country on tourist, temporary work or bridging visas, as they seek to protect their risk ratings amid a government crackdown on migration. The government's new migration strategy aims to reduce the number of temporary entrants in Australia, targeting universities and colleges considered to be at high risk of accepting students coming to Australia to work rather than study. Some temporary visa holders have reportedly applied to study at low-quality institutions to obtain a student visa and work rights, despite not being genuine students. Montreal Public Health says 14 cases of measles have led to thousands of contacts. CBC. Montreal Public Health has reported 14 confirmed cases of measles since the beginning of February, with only 2 of these believed to have been acquired abroad, suggesting local transmission. The list of locations where exposure may have occurred includes pharmacies, supermarkets, restaurants, coffee shops, metro lines, daycare centers, pediatric ERs, and hospitals. The health agency has launched a measles vaccination campaign in select schools and is urging healthcare professionals to verify their vaccination status and get vaccinated immediately if necessary. Measles has been eliminated from Canada, but cases are found among travelers who are not adequately vaccinated. Student loan interest deduction, rules and income limits. Yahoo! The student loan interest deduction allows eligible borrowers to reduce their taxable income by up to $2,500. Borrowers are eligible for the deduction if they paid student loan interest during the tax year, and the deduction can be claimed whether the borrower takes the standard deduction or itemizes deductions on their return. The maximum student loan interest deduction is $2,500 or the total amount paid in student loan interest during the tax year, whichever is less. The deduction is an above-the-line deduction, meaning it can be claimed regardless of whether the borrower takes the standard deduction or itemizes deductions on their return. To be eligible for the deduction, borrowers must meet certain criteria, including paying interest on a qualified student loan and being legally obligated to do so. The modified adjusted gross income, MAGI, must also be below certain thresholds, and neither the borrower nor their spouse must be claimed as a tax dependent on someone else's return. The IRS defines a qualified student loan as one taken out exclusively for higher education expenses for the borrower, their spouse, or a dependent at the time the loan was taken out. Both federal student loans and private student loans qualify for the deduction. The interest on these loans can only be deducted if it was used for tuition, fees, room and board, books, supplies, equipment, or other necessary expenses related to education. The deduction cannot be claimed if someone else is responsible for repaying the loan or if the borrower is being claimed as a tax dependent on someone else's return. The student loan interest deduction is an above-the-line deduction that can reduce taxable income by up to $2,500. The deduction can be claimed regardless of whether the borrower takes the standard deduction or itemizes deductions on their return. To be eligible for the deduction, borrowers must meet certain criteria, including paying interest on a qualified student loan and being legally obligated to do so. The modified adjusted gross income, MAGI, must also be below certain thresholds, and neither the borrower nor their spouse must be claimed as a tax dependent on someone else's return. The IRS defines a qualified student loan as one taken out exclusively for higher education expenses for the borrower, their spouse, or a dependent at the time the loan was taken out. Both federal student loans and private student loans qualify for the deduction. The interest on these loans can only be deducted if it was used for tuition, fees, room and board, books, supplies, equipment, or other necessary expenses related to education. The deduction cannot be claimed if someone else is responsible for repaying the loan or if the borrower is being claimed as a tax dependent on someone else's return. The Great University Racket is a national scandal. Telegraph. British universities are discriminating against domestic students in order to focus on recruiting lucrative foreign students, according to an op-ed in the Telegraph. Provincial institutions are opening campuses in London to attract these students, while supposedly first-rate institutions have been accused of lowering entry standards for foreign applicants. The author argues that this two-tier admissions system undermines the rigor of the sector and is a national scandal. The op-ed also questions whether universities should be considered academic institutions or businesses and calls for a rethink of the sector's purpose. Students resort to hand-washing clothes to save money. Telegraph. University students are resorting to hand-washing their clothes in buckets rather than paying for expensive campus laundrettes, according to videos circulating on social media. The cost of using university accommodation laundrettes has reportedly increased over the past 5 years, with prices varying greatly between campuses. Many university halls of residence laundrettes are operated by supplier Circuit Laundry, which posted profits of £3.6 million, $4.9 million, last year. Some students have invested in portable washing machines or taken their clothes home to wash. The rising costs come as student maintenance loans reach their lowest real terms value since 2016. German industry's appetite to invest abroad is still weak. Bloomberg. According to a survey by the German Chamber of Commerce and Industry, German manufacturers are showing a weak appetite to invest abroad due to concerns about a sluggish economy and geopolitical risks. The survey revealed that 30% of companies intend to increase spending outside of Germany, slightly down from last year, while the proportion planning to lower such outlays has risen. The main motivation for overseas investment is cost-cutting rather than expansion, with companies finding Germany to be too expensive and complicated. The survey also showed that the share of companies citing cost savings as the main driving factor for investing outside Germany has reached the highest level since 2008. Constance Martin considered Gumtree to smuggle baby abroad. The Independent. An aristocrat on trial for manslaughter has told a court she and her partner planned to smuggle their baby out of the country by paying someone to do so illegally. Constance Martin said she could have found a carer or nanny willing to help get their newborn to Europe, naming advertising website Gumtree as a place to look. The 36-year-old also told the court her family believed she was a drug addict who was bearing children to sell on the black market and insisted she was a good mother. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.